What's up, everyone? This is Bacon, and today we're going to be talking about heroes that I think have been surprising in a good way. I did a video before talking about the most disappointing heroes, and so now I'm going to flip it over. And I'm going to talk about heroes that, at first glance, I thought were going to be disappointing just based on their classic versions, but have been pleasantly surprised with. So let's go ahead and take a look at the first one I'm going to look at. And we're going to go look at the Light Bearers, and that is Gwyneth. Now, Gwyneth in Classic is just kind of across the board below average. She's just not very good at anything. And so when she was in this game, when she first came out, she wasn't part of Companions when it first started, but she was actually introduced shortly after it started. And once she came into the game, there was kind of like a uncertainty around her because her and Belinda kind of did a lot of the same things, but Belinda had been around for a little bit longer. And so naturally, people just had Belinda built out. But I think as people started to really kind of test her more, work with her, and understand how she works, they realized that she's really good once you build her up, and especially as you progress in the game. There are some heroes like Belinda who kind of are too squishy or fall off a little hard once you get into the later games, but Gwyneth really shines late game. And so she's a hero that honestly, when I first started, I was like, I wish she was really good, but she's kind of not that great. But then as I started playing her more, kind of messing around with her, tweaking her a bit, I actually really like Gwyneth a lot, and I think she is a must-have hero for the Lightbearer faction, and I think she's just a really fun hero. Now, the next hero I want to talk about, we're going to go to the Maulers, and you might know who I'm going to pick, and that is Salaki. So Salaki is a support hero. He has an interesting kind of ultimate where, let's just look at it. He sacrifices a certain amount of his health to increase the life leech and haste of all allied heroes, which is nice. And then where's his little deserts? Yeah, upon entering battle, Salaki casts a spell that unleashes an acrid miasma across the battlefield lasting for 30 seconds. So he has this kind of like just weather condition type thing where it's just like a sandstorm that kind of starts as soon as the battle starts, which is pretty cool. So while Weathering Winds is active, all allied heroes take and deal less damage. These effects will diminish over time while using this skill, and he is immune to control effects. If he dies, it'll disappear 5 seconds later. So he has some interesting support abilities that are really cool by concept, but in Classic, he was just kind of, nothing special. But Slaki's been really solid in Companions. He's great for Mauler comps. He's great in a lot of other areas of the game. And he is just a hero that I think if you're building out your Mauler team, you for sure want to have him built out. And it's nice to have a kind of a buffer and not just like a straight healer or straight damage, but he's kind of like a little buffer with a little bit of damage. But if you look here, primary thing is just buffing people, and Salaki is a really great hero at that. And I think overall Companions doesn't have an insane amount of buffers, so having a hero like this where you can provide that damage reduction, that sustainability, but also increases the damage of your allies is really nice. And Salaki is someone that I would definitely recommend adding to your Mauler team if you are new. Now, Wilders, I got nothing for them. Basically, the good Wilders are good, the bad ones are bad, and that's pretty much how they've been. All the heroes that are good in Wilders were good before. Let's go ahead and look at the Graveborns. No other Graveborns really that I've been like too impressed or happy with. So we're going to go ahead and just kind of slide through. Isabella might be like an honorable mention because she is pretty bad in a lot of other areas of the game, but with Dream Realm in the guild boss, she can really crank out some damage, which is really cool. But outside of those two areas, she's not the best. Guild boss is also not that valuable once you get to a certain point. But I do think Dream Realm is a really valuable activity or event to have her for. So if you're kind of late game and you're looking for someone to build up, Isabella can be a good one. But I'm going to say my final one is actually a Celestial. And that is going to be, drumroll please, Taylene. Taylene is a very, not too surprising that she's good because it's early game of Companions, but it's surprising that she's as good as she is. Compared to all the other Celestials, she just is kind of so versatile and just really can be plugged into a lot of areas. Across the board, she's just really fun to use, and she's pretty much better than her Awakened counterpart, which is kind of weird. I mean, obviously there are some parts where Awakened Tailene is better than normal Tailene, but for the amount of investment it takes to get Tailene compared to Awakened Tailene, she's just a pretty solid hero. And I think once we get the Celestial Tower, hoping we do eventually, Tailene will be a big part of that, I believe. But Tailene is a kind of support damage hero. She kind of does some healing and she also does some damage, but she also has a lot of sustainability. And I think what really gives Tailene such high value in Companions is the Forked Fate gain mode, because of that basically never counting as a death on your team. She just is infinitely alive because she dies and then she comes back and then she dies and she comes back, which makes Tailene very valuable. And so I think Tailene is just the most surprising or unexpected hero to be as good as she is. I definitely think people could have assumed she would be decent, but not as good as she ended up being in Companions. Maybe some honorable mentions, I would say, is Mahira, Mortis, potentially honorable mentions. And then if we go back to Light Bearers, I almost put Walker in here, but I just don't feel as good about putting him in here, just because I really need to build him out a little bit more to kind of fully understand how he works in every game mode. But Walker, I think when he first was released, people are kind of like, he's okay. And he was kind of like snuck into the game. He didn't have like a big old Destiny summons event or anything. He was just kind of there and summonable. But he actually is cranking out some damage in Dream Realms and a few other areas. So he was an honorable mention, but my first place got to be to my girl Tailene. I just pretty much maxed her out, which I'm excited about, and she's been great. But that's the video for today, guys. Thank you guys for watching, and as always, hope you have a great rest of your day. Peace.